Sabine Panetra, Director of DS Color, Materials and Finishes Design Studio and Collective Intelligence Leader at Stellantis, that's a title, will highlight the approach of DS Automobile in regards to developing and designing sustainable solutions. Sabine, welcome. Welcome in Brussels. Will you take this one? Yes. Okay, perfect.
Thank you. Just as a short introduction, CMF design, or color, materials and finishes design, is the area where we decide on all the materials that you see and touch, and even lighting, smell. And we work on these items for production cars, concept cars, and of course for the future vehicles. Just to give you an idea, right now we are already working on cars that will be ready in 2030. So it's a lot of work. I'd like to tell you about an approach from in-house, from DS Automobile, from design, about how we have decided to integrate sustainability in our vehicles. This might be a bit harsh, but sustainability is a word very fashionable. We see it everywhere. We all want to live sustainably, be sustainable, eat sustainably, and that's great. But we wanted to stand out in this big sustainability trend and explain what is our approach and what makes DS Automobile sustainability so special and feeding our brand values. So we chose sustainability, which I will talk to you about in the next few minutes. Our ambition as DS Automobile is to embody the French luxury know-how in the automotive industry, and I could even say Parisian approach. Even for when we talk about sustainability, we have to feed that ambition. So, sustainability. Play on word, you will have noticed. Sustainability, to give it a definition, is the idea that we choose, of course, lightweight. We try to choose lightweight, renewable materials that are made sustainably over maybe animal materials or petrol-based materials. But what the key thing you have to remember is, for DS, we do this, that's the standard, but we also emphasize know-how and craftsmanship. We really want to put this forward in our sustainable approach. And how do we do that? We have, let's say, three obsessions: sustainability in materials, in innovation, and know-how. Sustainability in materials, if there is one thing you should remember about our approach at DS, is our will to use common raw materials and transform them by savoir-faire. Common raw materials, the example here on our DS ASL concept, you hear on the left, is using straw, which is a very easily available material that can be grown sustainably, cheap. And then when we transform it into straw marquetry, then it became something amazing, something unique, as you can see here on the left. On the right is another example. It's wood. We can use, let's say, a regular type of wood, plain wood, and then again by craftsmanship, using it in marquetry, and then laser cutting it for audio systems, then it really becomes something amazing. And it really shows know-how without creating or endangering anything or any life form. So that means we are not interested in just recycling, we are interested in upcycling. So it's using, let's say, boring materials, regular materials, but when we reuse them, we give them more value. A lot of people do this in the fashion industry, so this is totally our area of inspiration. And it's, for example, there are threads that our suppliers have that are made from recycled fish nets, fishing nets in the sea. And then we use these fibers and we make a really great fabric with it. So we are upcycling. Another example is, let's say, kind leather. Our idea is that for DS, I can tell you, we will not stop using leather. We will have an alternative to a leather interior, of course, but the leather we will continue to use because we believe the customers are still interested for at least the next few years in leather interior, is to have a leather that irreproachable, a leather that's traceable. Sorry, so don't have any issue where it comes from. A leather that's tanned in a non-toxic way, not using chrome, but vegetable tanning, for example. There are plenty of ways to do vegetable tanning. Making sure about animal welfare, making sure that, of course, the animals that are used are where the skin is a waste. It's not allowed to grow cows just for the skin. It's always a waste from eating meat. So as long as people eat meat, there will be hides available, and we'll be able to make leather. Optimizing also the production of leather. We tend to focus always on the perfect leather hide with no defects, but we want to reintroduce the fact that it's a natural product. So you will see some defects, of course not perforation, but we also have to evolve as we all do in different areas in our daily life about using materials that are not necessarily perfect. And that means we will use more of the hide and we will reduce waste. And then, of course, we're looking at alternatives to bovine leather because we eat meat, but we also eat fish. So we are looking at fish leather, like salmon skin leather. Of course, the specifications are not, salmon leather is not as resistant as cow leather, but we can still do things with this. It's also a waste. We need to optimize. And because it has a specific graphic pattern, it's very interesting from a design point of view. And there is a lot of know-how in that field. The second, our second obsession is the sustainable innovation. So it's all about the research, advanced research in new sustainable materials and technologies and processes. For example, lightweight. From 2024, all the DS vehicles will be electrified. All the new vehicles will be electrified. And of course, we want to participate. Even if we are design, we don't create the structure of the cars. We can still have more lightweight materials, thinner leathers, or even if we look at new processes, 3D printing. That means we print a material that's not completely solid, that has a lighter weight. All this for weight economy for the car, and that means more mileage on an electric vehicle. We are also looking, that's quite futuristic, but we are starting to see some results in other industries than the automotive, in the fashion and in leather goods. It's the biofabrication. So we're looking at growing leather in a lab, so using collagen cells, also creating, for example, silk without using any worms, but in a lab again with PLA, polylactic acid. And of course, there are a lot of research about alternatives to leather using, for example, grape residue, pineapple, apple, to find a new material, not necessarily a substitute, because copying is not interesting. And it's to the point, that's why I was talking about the fact that we work on cars in 2030s, because we're also thinking about what is the future luxury, what is the future luxury materials. Will plastic actually become a luxury material? Because we are now we know it's kind of a big surprise when you actually have a plastic bag when you go in the shop, because you always get those paper bags. So maybe things will turn around. Maybe something that is becoming rare will become precious. And also, of course, the way how we rework it, how we put it into shape, will make it very important. This explaining our obsession with craftsmanship and know-how. Speaking of, know-how is really our full obsession. So we want to support craftsmanship skills, and not only artisans in a small workshop, but also digital craftsmanship, so 3D printing and all the future technologies that will feed our designs, and industrial know-how. This means our suppliers. I mean, we've been around. The automotive industry has been around for many, many years, and there's a real know-how for our industrial or tier 1, tier 2 suppliers. At DS, we have already grown with French know-how. In our studio, we have a team of saddlers who help us, who we go and ask them about this material, what can we do, how can we put it into shape. The DS interior seat is called the watch strap trim, and it looks like a watch strap, and this has been developed in-house by our saddlers and then transmitted to our suppliers. So we have this. We've had this for a long time. It's the same for our painters. They are artists. Sometimes we ask them for concepts, as you can see here on the right. Paint little miracles with patterns, and all this is sprayed, and anyway, it's quite complex, and it really needs to be. You really need to be an artist or a real craftsman. But now we want to push it more, and we first started to highlight this savoir-faire, but all the collaborations we've had with our show cars mostly. So here you see 3 different collaborations. There is embroidery with Le Sage, which is part of the Chanel group. In the middle, Le Marié, which is a specialty in the feathers. We had an interior of DSX E10s trimmed with feathers, multiple colors. And the last one I already showed you, it's also DSX E10s with the wood marquetry by an artisan in Paris. So it goes from what I said, the very traditional little atelier. Here you can see gilders. They have done a one-off for DS7 for President Emmanuel Macron. We're using gold leaves and using the traditional techniques. So of course, this is a great opportunity. But we also look to the future, and we work with 3D printing, with new technologies to develop shapes we're unable to do in another way. You can see here on the steering wheel the way it's metal print. The shape was rather complex, so we decided directly to do it in 3D printing, making it also lighter. As I said, lightweight is important. Our front grills, also, we try to make them lighter and with the maximum personality. And you can see at the end a transition towards production with the key fob with 3D printing for a limited edition on DS3. Our second step after working on concepts, concepts, anybody can do it. I mean, if you have a lot of money and ideas. But our idea is to integrate it to our production cars, our daily design process. So now we are working with artisans and integrating it to our process. When we design materials, first we have some ideas, inspiration from anywhere. So now we take also inspiration with artisans. We go and see them, those craftsmen. We explain what we have in mind. These are samples of things that cannot go directly in the car. But we take these samples, we work with them. We do pleating with Maison L'Oignon, which is also part of the Chanel group. We work with metal workers, forgerons. We work with wood marquetry at Atelier Farouche. And then they develop ideas, samples that are already quite serious. And then with these samples, we go see our regular automotive suppliers and work with them. So it allows us to sustain craftsmanship from the small artisan to craftsmanship at our suppliers. And they are quite interested in working with us. For them, it's a completely new world, and for us, it's a completely new world. And we feed each other with totally different perspectives. It's very interesting. And what we also need to do now, and what the reason I'm also here, is to promote, to explain what we are doing, and to sustain this. I mean, it's just not a one-off just an event. It's just not 1 year we do this and then we forget. It's really we want this to continue, and we want this to be visible, and we want to give value to all the work we put in at DS. And one of the way we have, well, several ways. I mean, when we present cars now, there are less and less motor shows. So we do special events, DS Week, or when we reveal our new cars, for example, DS3 Crossback, we come, we show our samples, and it's us, the designers, it's not actors. Our saddlers come and explain what's going on. We also present our work in new areas, at new exhibitions, not necessarily car-related exhibitions. Salon Révélation in Paris is about craftsmen and showing the best of savoir-faire. And the last item and last thing we have started event is our call for creation, DS Métiers d'Art. And DS Métiers d'Art is actually comes from in-house, from my team and myself. We wanted to get more artisans to work with us for our daily development, for our production cars. So we asked them, we created a call to appel à création, a call to creation, and from whoever was interested in imagining interior decoration for DS9, one of the cars you can try today. So you see this on the right, an example. And we had many artisans reply. We were quite afraid because they all replied the day before the deadline. So for many weeks we thought nobody was interested, we had totally failed. And actually we had 51 answers the night before the deadline. So now we know we just have to wait for the deadline and not worry. So this is something actually ongoing. DS Métiers d'Art, we have now selected the finalists. We start with 10 finalists who produced actually samples. We paid for them. This is not about exploiting their ideas. They produced samples, and then among these 10, 3 were selected. And now among these 3, 1 has been selected and will work on a full interior decoration, on the door panels, on the instrument panel, with their craft. And it will be presented early in January. And we hope, we are going to do a second edition next year also. This has started this summer. So yes, to resume what we do for sustainability. So again, it's sustaining materials, sustaining innovation, sustaining know-how, which is our obsession. And I hope you will be interested in this approach. You will see the value of it. You will be following the evolution in our cars. For now, you can try DS4 and DS9. We have been working on the next steps, and for every new car released, you will see these items appearing in the car. I hope, anyway. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Yes, you can keep it, because I have one thing to add and one question. The thing to add is in terms of deadlines. Don't worry. Also, my editorial team is always sending their articles really last instance in the last minutes, okay?
Okay.
Then a question. Do you think that in some time you can do 3D printing of microchips and semiconductor chips?
That's my personal business. We have to talk.
Okay, good, because that could solve many issues here.
No, we're also having the same globally worries, but it's not impacting our work for now.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.